Hello, and welcome to Revamped, a rewatch podcast that revisits my top favorite shows and movies. I'm your host, Brandon Alexander, joined by my co-host,
Courtney Autumn.
Venture with us as we set our sights on the infamous Hellmouth to cover 90s cult classic, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Follow along from the beginning, spoiler-free, as Courtney views the show for the first time and I revisit the series for new takes and a fresh perspective on its narrative.
Each season, every episode, in order, we will follow Buffy Summers and her friends to examine their character development, the show's underlying themes, along with its major story arcs, all while engaging in conversations, sharing our own authentic thoughts and feelings to what's unfolding before us.
So sharpen your stakes, load your crossbows, and join us as we explore the supernatural world of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Let's get into the episode.
Me.
Oh god, not the talent show again.
The
Talentless show. Hello everyone and welcome back to Revamped, where we're still watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We're on our 10th episode, yo. We got 2 more to go for this season.
That's crazy.
It's wild.
It's gone by pretty quick. I just like how in the beginning of all of this, you were like, mate, will you do a podcast with me? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then by the time we sat down in person and had our like official talk about it, you were like, all right, well, until 2027, we're going to be recording this podcast.
Holy shit, it's going to take forever. Basically not, though, but basically so. But basically everything. Usually after I say season 1, episode 10, go into my written by bullshit. Watch me clip the whole fucking intro except 2 parts and be like, season 1, episode 10. So with that being said, season 1, episode 10, Nightmares. Written by Joss Whedon and directed by Bruce Seth Green. I think this is our 2nd episode by Bruce Seth Green, but I can't remember what episode beforehand that we watched that he did. But it doesn't matter. This is the episode of Buffy where, after an injury leaves a young boy in a coma, his horrid dream state, fueled by the Hellmouth, manifests the nightmares of Sunnydale's residents, bringing them to life. As Buffy unravels the mystery, she and her friends must confront their own fears while also facing a supervillain born from the boy's dreams, all before the nightmare world engulfs the rest of reality. I know you already gave me your stance on the ugly man, but what did you think?
I think this particular episode I had noticed left me most confused out of all the episodes so far, like the whole entire time. I was just like, what the fuck is going on? There's a lot going on. Like, how do the nightmares play into the ugly man, and who the fuck is this random kid? It was a lot of confusion for a while until the very fucking end. And also, yeah, I don't want to go there yet, but
Oh shit.
we'll get there.
She said I got some stuff. Oh my god. I always enjoy this episode upon my rewatches for the most part. I don't usually want to skip it. It's a lot better than I, Robot You, Jane. Or honestly, even the puppet show. Like I said the last time, I think I say that I wouldn't skip episodes or things like that. But this one I really liked because it enveloped that whole nightmare world and it gave us a new spin, a new take on nightmares. Because if you just read the title of it, you going in, you're probably like, oh, someone's gonna be dreaming something random, or maybe it's a dream episode, like all in one person's head, like one of our main characters or something like that. But no, this one is like literally the whole entire fucking town coming to life. I like it though, mostly for the world that we get to travel into and the extensions of our core gang's personalities and fears coming to life within the story. That's the way that they decided to do it, with Billy being the source and the trauma that he endured, unleashing these forces to manifest into the physical. You know, it's always the Hellmouth bringing up some bullshit like this. But I like the concept of it. We get astral travel mentions and how other bodies could act in a situation that's amplified by that mystical energy of the Hellmouth. And just for everyone in the town having their hellish imaginations taking form to torment them. We also have metaphors for sure on trauma and abuse situations across the whole episode, mostly in Buffy's case, but obviously for Billy as well. Not to mention abandonment wounds for a round of deeper stuff versus all the superficial and mundane things that some of the other people in the episode deal with. That's just what I saw rewatching it and assessing it and analyzing a little differently. But we really get a look into each person and how they would experience fear And Buffy's, in my opinion, is probably about the worst all around, with the exception of Billy, obviously, because, you know, he got the ugly man chasing him the whole fucking episode. He's like, get me the fuck out of here. I ain't trying to be chased around by the ugly man. That's all I'm saying. We get to see Buffy in a different form, too, and understand what she's probably been dealing with since the beginning, because if you think about it, in the episode 1, we open up on her dreaming. Her mom wakes her up and she's like, Buffy, you ready for school? Bullshit. So she's having that nightmare basically about everything that's we've been watching, because it's that quick sequence or whatever, but it all leads to the master before she's found out about him. And if anything, this episode is telling us, well, showing us where her mind is and where it's been at across all these episodes leading up to now, and how she's feeling about what she's experienced, the monsters, and definitely with the master having been a looming force that she's going to have to deal with. On a little bit of a brighter note, though, it's got great moments of hilarity with some of the dream and nightmare tropes and scenarios that we get, which we will definitely mention as we come to them. But to sum it up, this whole episode was giving opposite day vibes for me. I could not imagine being exposed to this and having my actual horrors become reality, especially as a person who does shadow work and journeys into myself often enough as well. I'm sure that there's some buried things that would unleash in a sitch like this, and I'd just be like, I can't deal. But on that note, let's say we're in the episode and living the situation. What kind of horrible nightmares and fears do you think would present for you immediately and be exposed?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think for sure something involving like me failing as a parent somehow is a big one, or my own parental trauma with my own parents, like specifically my father, who's been pretty absent majority of life, and the parts where he hasn't were just kind of, you know, we would rather not. So, yeah, probably just an overall parental theme for me, I think. Probably very close in similarity to what Buffy was experiencing with her dad. And I actually made a side note that was slightly sarcastic but true. But when her dad and her were having their exchange, that was on the negative dialogue of things. I wrote a note and I was like, oh, look, it's my dad. We have the same one.
Oh, man, no. And that's not even her, like, actual dad, but...
I know. And then I was like, oh, look, we don't.
Because at the end of the episode, he's like, honey, I love you.
I
like,
know.
Let's cuddle.
I was like, God damn it.
You're like,
no relation.
Bag. Your dad's always perpetually living in the nightmare realm with Billy and the ugly man.
He is
the ugly man.
Basically, except
that's why his eyes are all scratched out on the one side, because he's winking.
It's the weekly winking.
So initially, whenever I was pondering this, when I developed the script and asked that question for myself, I sat there and thought about it. And honestly, I feel like the first things that would happen would be a toxic ex from my past would come back, or like be revisited by them in some way. I'd be like, nope, ain't got time for this. Go away. But of course, I would have to do what Xander does to that clown, like if that happened. So I would be over that pretty quickly. I think it would be an interesting moment. But I was asking myself, what would I be afraid of? Because I don't really have any mundane fears like spiders or nudity, like in front of the class type bullshit that Xander dealt with. Mine would have to be a lot deeper. Like I said, somebody that does shadow work and all that other stuff. But I think that what happens to Buffy with her dad, my version would be like you, Courtney, being like, mate, I just don't want to be your friend anymore, and then roasting me like he did on her some shit. I feel like that's what I was saying, like, because I was trying to relate it to you and me, because we do this. So the worst for me, out of like every other friend that I've had, if like you just like literally said all the same stuff that Buffy's dad did to me, and be like, mate, I just can't fucking actually stand you, all this other stuff. And I was just like, oh, you don't want to be my friend anymore? Like, I mean, you're the one friend that like ain't leaving this situation. And then along my day, I knew that we were coming together to record this. And I was thinking about it again because I knew this question was in here. And I was like, I've been having like my weird health issues every now and again, or like something happening with my body to where my anxiety makes me go, you're dying. You're actually just dying. So I think now, pondering back towards it, I would think that I would just literally, death would come up to me, a reaper with his blade, and he'd be like, let's go. Like, my episode would end so quickly. He would be like, come on, let's go, mate.
No, I feel like you have a long life to live. And I feel like that's true for both of us. And we'll be here, unfortunately and fortunately. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where I'm like, is it true? Is that saying true that the good die young? Because I'm like, sometimes this world is too much for me. Like, I'm like, I can't. It's crazy out there. That's why you're my only friend. But I second what you're saying, because yeah, I don't know what I would do without you now in life at all. Like, because we're so closely connected and we always have these like huge milestones in life that happen just ironically, not even like perpetually planned or anything. It just like happens. These milestones or these big events or turning points in life always happen to us at the same age or around the same time. We're definitely within like the same year. So we're always like,
And think.
yeah, we're always in sync. We always get what the other one's going through. And that always helps a lot with like pondering our perceptions and whatnot.
All right, you guys, this is actually an episode of Life in Retrograde. We're going to be talking all the good
I like
stuff.
flip that for mine.
I know, right? Well, I guess we can discuss the rest of it as we go along, but all right, great. Well, let's 1, 2, Billy's coming for you, this shit, and press play on the episode.
In every generation, there is a chosen one. She alone will stand against the vampires, the demons, and the forces of darkness. She is the Slayer.
We open in the Master's lair. He's got some extra candles burning. One lit for every day Darla's been gone, apparently. We pan over to the tunnel connecting to its open floor space as a shadow appears entering into his dwellings. The shadow looks like Buffy wielding a stake, and then Buffy steps into frame carrying a stake. She slowly paces forward, stopping at the end to take in the room before stepping down the layered steps to the pool of blood in the floor. Not to the pool, but by the pool is actually what I meant to say, because if not, she's hopping in that shit, and she's like, wow, this isn't getting on me.
I'm repellent.
She's like,
as well.
I love it. She passes by a column just as we see the Master sweep behind it and just out of sight of her. She moves through it, coming to the far edge of the room where he appears behind her, and she spins around, coming face to face with him, drawing up her stake. He hisses at her, and she stares at him in horror. Frozen in fear, her stake drops from her hand to the floor, and she backs away slowly as he motions toward her, backing her into the wall. Whenever this like sequence first started taking place, were you like, damn, she already fighting the Master? Or did you just assume that this was a dream?
Oh no, I knew right away it was a dream. Like my first note on my thing for the episode is, okay, so we're clearly starting in a dream. But I was confused because I was like, did I forget the part where she's seen the Master before?
She has not seen the Master before up to this
Okay.
episode.
That's why I was
Like,
like, how
she's-
does she know what he looks like if it's a dream?
So
and she's never
she has
seen
prophetic
him.
dreams, and that's what she was doing in the beginning.
When
But
to
I'm
see it.
pretty sure that she's just dreamed about him and they know of the Master, but there's no like text or a volume that Giles has whipped out and been like, this is what the Master looks like. Canon
Okay.
for you.
That's what I thought, and I figured it was like you said, just prophecy type deal. So I was like, okay, well, it's probably just like worked into her because she's the chosen one, she's the Slayer type
Yeah.
of situation. So I figured that, but then I was like, but maybe I missed something.
No, I think
you
it's
know,
like a
where-
gift of the Slayers later on when she sees him in her dream. That is physically the first time she's really come face to face with him, because obviously this is like reality, even though it's a twisted version of it. So
but
this
they-
is the
they
episode where they
actually
come face
saw
to face.
each
Yes.
other. Okay, yeah, no, I just needed clarification on if I missed something or if that was just
No.
like the elusiveness of it or whatever.
I did want to say also that the layer is still such a mood. As soon as she came into it, I was like, oh my God, I still want to hang out in this fucking place, because you get longer periods and well lit as well. Because like I said, he's got a candle lit for Darla every fucking day that she's been gone. He's been lighting candles off in it. So it's the most illuminated version of this that we've ever seen. And she's walking through it. So, the camera's really focusing on like the texture of the land and all this stuff. And I was like, I also
Yeah.
noticed too that she meant business too, because in her dream sequence, she got them leather fighting pants on that she wore when she was going to beat Angel's ass.
I'm glad you noticed
And
that.
also commented on the hiss that he does in the moment when she goes to spin around is super theatrical. It's like that, I want to suck your blood more, vampire hiss.
Yeah.
And that was so eccentric for the fucking dream sequence. I was like, all right, I'm done. But let's hop back into the dream sequence now. The Master reaches a hand out to her throat, clasping it as he holds her there. She begins to scream as he leans in for the bite. We flash to her in bed, being shaken awake by Joyce, telling her, yes, it's time to get up for school, because, Buffy's screaming, no, no, no. Yes, gotta go to school, the Hellmouth, where all the hell goes down. Her eyes open as she stares back, saying, Mom, taking in that she was just having a nightmare. Of course, we gotta set this episode up in the beginning with a nightmare to tell us, Buffy's going to have these fears to come on for later events, but She asks if Buffy is all right. She says no, but means yes. She's fine. School, great. Awesome. I love school. It's my favorite place ever, especially when people die there. She says getting up to start the day. You want to go to school? Joyce asks, drawing open her blinds, letting more light in. Buffy at her closet, grabbing clothes, says, sure, why not? Joyce claiming, okay. It must be a good day to buy that lottery ticket. Get one for me too, Joyce. She makes up Buffy's bed and tells her that she spoke with her father, by the way. Buffy turns around so quick, her neck almost snap off her shoulder. She's like, he's coming, right? And I was like, girl, you need to calm down. It's just your dad. She has this whole anxiety built up the whole fucking episode. Gotta let her know and let us know that she's got these separation issues. But she said that you are on for this weekend and assures Buffy as such. Good, Buffy says with a smile that screams she's worried that her dad's going to bail on her. And you can tell in this moment that she's missing him and excited to see him, but that he might be a flake as well. That might play into context later. Fucking Hank Summers. But not later today. Later the next time we see his ass. No spoilers. No. She gives her mom a final smile, and then we cut to the school day where Willow and her move down the halls as she questions Buffy about how often she sees her dad. Buffy clues her in as they rummage through lockers, grabbing books that it's a few and far between event since he still lives in LA and only comes down for the weekend sometimes. Willow and her go back and forth, having a history moment about their divorce and how they were pretty okay around her during it. Willow doesn't relate, as her parents don't argue really, just occasionally glare. I don't know what that means, but I guess they just stare at each other intently. She prods, asking if Buffy knows why they split. Buffy isn't fully sure, chalking it up to guessing that they just stopped getting along, also adding that she probably didn't make it any better with all the trouble that she was getting into by being the slayer behind the scenes, burning down the school gym. We know the story. Willow offers that she's sure Buffy had nothing to do with his leaving. Buffy gives an unconvincing no. Willow points out again he still comes down sometimes on the weekends, and Buffy adding, sometimes. More set up for the nightmarish activity that we're getting with Buffy's parental dramas and her fears over her dad, aka her high-key abandonment issues being presented to us. I was like, they're going to incorporate this as a lot of kids and young adults overall could relate to this, so they got to have it, because I mean, I feel like growing up, parents being separated was always like this huge issue that people took notice to, and now people would just be like, yeah, my parents aren't together anymore, but like when we grew up, it was like a whole thing.
I know.
So what the fuck? And they, I guess, didn't take that experience well. And some may have felt exactly as Buffy does. So I'm glad that they put that in there for the people that during the time frame could totally relate and all that good stuff. But Buffy needs to quit beating herself up is the main point that I wanted to make in that statement, because I was already tired of seeing it. And it's only been 3 minutes since the episode. I'm like, girl, you need to calm down. Like, this ain't going to help you in 17 minutes when this motherfucker hating on you. And you out here blubbering. They head to class where Cordelia sits in there primping in her compact mirror as a boy steps to the window in class to peer out, blocking her light. She calls him doofus and informs her that, hello, he is blocking her light, here pointing out Cordelia's vanity and her vain nature, so we are further impacted later by her experiences when her fears come to life. Xander walks up, smacking him, letting us know his name is Wendell, scolding him, joking, saying,
Wendell, what is wrong with you? Don't you know that she is the center of the universe and the rest of us merely revolve around her?
Cordelia smirks, super happy with this, and smiles, retorting,
why don't you revolve yourselves out of my life?
He raises eyebrows at her, and the bell rings, starting class, as it always does. They move to their desks as Willow and Buffy enter to take their seats, Xander informing them on the fun interaction that they were just having with Cordelia. They make jokes about her before Xander asks about the homework assignments that he definitely didn't do, or doesn't even remember. Xander wants to flunk out of school and be that pizza man and work at the ice cream place for Willow. Willow saying that it was on active listening, and he is dumbfounded because Xander doesn't know how to listen, so yeah. Not surprised there. Miss Tischler, the strangest fucking name for a teacher. What the hell? But anyways, Miss Tish has demonstrated it on him yesterday, Wendell says to him. With Xander, Willow tries to tell him so he can recall. He's still clueless, though, and Buffy reminds him of the tight sweater that she had on. And of course, that triggers the whole scenario for Xander, who is not actively listening, but actively ogling. Of course, Xander remembers at this point, not paying any attention to the actual lesson. Teenage boys be like, we get back on that fuck off Xander train, but it was lighthearted here, so I'm not going to get aggressive today. Moving on, Miss Tish starts class as she lectures Buffy, plays with her pencil a bit more, dropping it onto the floor where she kneels down to retrieve it. I swear Buffy got ADD because the second the teacher begins to teach, she is disassociating and playing with an item to entertain herself. Like, literally.
She didn't take her Adderall.
She said, my Vyvanse script has not come in. But in this motion, we hear the teacher Tish ask Wendell to please read the first 2 paragraphs on a certain page in their textbooks for class to the class. Buffy catches eyes with a young boy out in the hall staring back at her. When Wendell opens up his textbook, several tarantulas emerge from its pages, and he hears the whole class start to trip shit, fleeing from his face. They're like, we got to get the fuck away from Wendell. They are crawling all over him, the spiders, not the students, and he's screaming, get them off me, help him. We pan back over to the young boy at the door frame, who softly just says, sorry about that. I'm like, boy, tell us I'm sorry about that. What are you talking about? Also, this little boy, do you think he looked like James Gordon-Levitt? Like, did he look like a young version of him? I always thought it.
Totally.
I used to have to Google it back in the day.
Oh my God. I wasn't getting that right away, but yes.
It's him. It's canon, but it's not.
It's him.
I do have to point out that all the tarantulas they use in the scene too were all curly hairs and Antilles pink toe spiders. I have one of each. That's how I definitely know, but also I like tarantulas. And they're a very common and docile species of arachnids and handled really well. So that's probably likely why they chose them for this scene. But either way, my curly haired tarantula's name is Julia Roberts, because of the little curly hairs that fluff off of it. It just reminds me of like curly hair, and Julia Roberts is the first person that comes to mind for me. And then my other one, the Antilles pink toe, is literally named Wendell because of this episode. So
I love
I know,
that.
right? I was like,
Oh
because
my
I didn't
God,
have a
I
name.
didn't even put that together. That's so
Yeah.
funny. I need to know, though, how these tarantulas came out of the book, because that book was closed initially. And I'm just like, but you know that they would be flat, right? Like, what's going on? But also, like, first off, why are you just screaming? Why is anybody just screaming? Just get them off of you. And I don't know. It was a lot. I was like, okay, what's going on? Is this a dream already? I'm confused.
No, this is real fucking
This is
life.
why I was confused.
This is real fucking life. Billy's doing this bullshit, which you know now because you watched the whole episode,
Yeah.
but still. No, they probably had to edit it and clip it so perfectly to where they had the book like slightly opened and all the spiders on the inside without harming them in any way. But we cut to black and we cue the Buffy theme. Bow, now, now, now. That's all I'm going to do today. In the Master's Lair, we see him sitting with Colin, aka the Anointed One, discussing the nature of fear and how it's the most powerful force in the human world. He asks Colin when he was immortal what was it that he feared, and he replies simply, monsters. Okay. You're a monster now, so the irony in that. Which I wrote, the Master laughs at the irony and continues to preach on fear and how we're defined by the things that we fear. He moves over to a cross, the symbol most vampires should and would fear, to demonstrate his control of fear and overcoming it by placing a hand on it and letting it scold him with little reaction, stating that fear is in the mind, like pain. It can be controlled. If he can face his fear, it cannot master him, he preaches. Not the master mastering the mastery of mastering. Like, get it, master? He looks up toward the ceiling, commenting with excitement how a powerful psychic force is happening above. Colin also feels it, describing it as change. The master agrees, saying that it is for the worst. And then we pan back above the school as the day begins. Joyce drops off a quiet Buffy at the entrance, commenting on her nature. Buffy chalking it up to bad sleep, her mom now commenting on her screaming from her bad dreams, asking if she recalls them, but Buffy says that she doesn't because she can't tell her mom she's dreaming about a vampire lord that's gonna fucking murder her. Buffy panics that she's forgotten her bag and she needs it for the weekend, ahead with dear old Mr. Summers, and Joyce states that she can easily grab the bag after school, there's no need to freak out, which Buffy asks for clarity on him still picking her up. Speaking of picking up, Joyce is picking up on the energy and calls Buffy out for thinking her dad may not show up, and then she soothes her worried mind to keep them positive vibes flowing, reminding her that he adores her and not to fret. Buffy exits the car to start her school day, and the absolute longest fucking school day ever, which we're about to find out. You notice they go to the fucking hospital, they come back to the school, they leave the school again, they go to the cemetery, they come back to the school, like this.
Oh,
and then like
shit.
all between that, they're still
Yeah.
going to classes and stuff too. Buffy goes to history class at like 11, and then all of a sudden it's 1 o'clock, and then from 1 o'clock like on, they go to the fucking hospital, and then they come back to school.
Even though while she was taking that test, her whole hour-long class was 3 minutes long.
Poor bitch. It's wild.
But I wonder if that's like a play on everyone in the school's like nightmare, because it's literally the longest school day ever.
really
and
is.
everybody hates that, you know? So we're like, that's everyone's nightmare.
Apparently. Here we go. Once inside the school, Buffy is greeted by Willow and Xander. Willow first asking if she's spoken to Giles about the spider event, cause apparently the spiders are giving her the wig, as Xander confirms. Willow can't help but be insane, commenting on the dislike for them.
I don't like spiders, okay? They're furry bodies and their sticky webs, and what do they need all those legs for anyway? I'll tell you, for crawling across your face in the middle of the night.
Willow is so extra in this moment. Like, she's wilding if I got over some damn spiders. Oh God, here we go with the classic fear of spiders. Next is gonna be the person to like, I don't like snakes and all that other stupid shit. But we also get the Buffy fashion moment here with this baby blue color, and we're seeing it again because I already mentioned in our first episode and a couple of times across the season that I absolutely love her in this, and I do like this leather jacket. I'm just not a fan of the shirt that she's wearing because I don't like the blocked coloring that's on it. I don't like the blue and the white and then the stripe that's down the side. I'm just like, what is happening? But Xander, however, I prefer his later outfit and not the naked one. I'm talking about the gym clothes because I really like the Sunny to High colors, and I like his little gym attire. I would have just wore that to school in general because the outfit that he's wearing is disgusting. Like, the shirt is not cute. The actual clothes he wore to school that day before he has to have that whole moment, they're just not cute. So fashion out moment for him is my point. And I thought Willow was looking cute because her dresses are getting a lot cuter than they used to be. They're like, people are liking Willow, let's make her look a little less geeky, but also keep the nerd factor on. They're like, she's coming up a step from Moloch. Anyways, they arrive at the library doors. Willow is concerned on how Xander doesn't seem to be worried about the event. Buffy agreeing it's worth being alarmed over it, but he mentions that he's getting used to the Hellmouth activity. He doesn't stress the same because he knows if something crazy arises, they have a system.
Not worried. If there's something bad out there, we'll find, you'll slay, we'll party.
They enter the library, calling out for Giles, who comes jaunting out the stacks. We can tell that he's zoned out. Buffy calls out wakey, wakey to him, and he says that he was back there in the stacks and that he got lost. Not picking up on anything, Xander asks if while back there he found any info on the spiders, teasing Willow in the process. I like that part. He was like fucking with Willow on the back, and she's like, Xander, stop. I'm like, oh God, no wonder she likes you so much. You're always flirting, essentially. Got to be touching people. Giles claims no, telling them that he suggests a chat with Wendell, looking back at the stacks, questioning in his mind what occurred for him as they leave. Outside, they find Wendell, who is a little spacey himself. Buffy asks him if he's okay, but he just stares. Eventually asking if they wanted something. Buffy confirms that they just figured that he might want to chat about what happened. He doesn't know what to say on that subject, and Xander makes a remark about how there's nothing to say. He saw 200 insects and freaked out. Wendell snaps at him to school him on how spiders are arachnids and not insects. Okay, Grayson Jr., calm down. Letting us know that he has extensive knowledge on them. They continue to talk, finding out that this has occurred with him many times, Willow relating that he must really hate spiders, but he tells her that he feels no such way. In fact, the opposite. They hate him. At this time, Cordelia appears behind him on her way to class, speaking to Buffy, saying that she hopes she studied for the history test. Buffy, alarmed, asks, what damn history test? Cordelia replying, the one we're having in fourth period, aka right now. She starts tripping about it and how she had no clue. Worried, having not studied, she flees to go toward the class, saying that she'll catch up with them later. A fashion no moment for Cordelia because that scarf that she had on, I was like, she's supposed to be the it girl and know what's up when it comes to fashion and wardrobe, but she got this ugly ass ascot looking like fucking Fred from Scooby-Doo. No, that's not it for me, boo. I'm like, Cordelia, you need to get the fuck out of here. You can go back home and change your clothes.
I like how you're the outfit committee in this episode.
Well, there was a lot going on, but also I was like nightmarish wise, like wait till I talk about her outfit from later. But no, I'm always on Buffy fashion watch because Buffy's attire across the first season and even into the second is like some of my favorite wardrobe. And then honestly, we don't get as many cool outfits in my opinion until season 5 when she looks sexy as fuck as a woman. She hits adulthood. Anyways. Willow and Xander linger, speaking with Wendell more, who tells them of the vast collection of arachnids that he once had. The biggest collection, actually, in the tri-state area, to be in fact, but mentions how they all died due to a heat lamp, aka improper care, after his brother negligently took care of them for him while he was away at wilderness camp for a week. Wendell tells us of the dreams that he has. Always the same. He's in class, and the teacher asks him to read something, and when he opens the book, they pour out onto him, saying that he thought the day before that he had just fallen asleep in class, but quickly realized everyone else was screaming and that it was reality. Xander and Willow share a look before we cut to the hallway where Buffy walks around clueless, looking at various doors. When we hear Cordelia call out from an open door, you don't know where class is, do you? Buffy just mutters, while Cordelia goes on to state, it's hardly a shocker as she's cut history class just about every time that they've had it. Buffy disagreeing, offering that she was there for the first day, but is still stressed out about how she's going to pass this test when she hasn't been to class or even studied. Cordelia wishes her blind luck, but we see Buffy in class a few moments later taking the said test that students around her are easily flying through with theirs. She checks the clock, which reads 11:20 a.m., then back down at her paper at the name section. At least she knows that and goes to write her name on the paper, but Slayer's strength damn near causing her to break the whole pencil through the desk. It pops in two and the lead snaps and she grabs her sharpener. Glancing at the clock once more, it now reads 12:10 p.m., 50 whole minutes appearing to have passed in an instant. She grows concerned, looking around just as the bell rings to end the class and all the students exit, turning in their completed tests at the teacher's desk. And this teacher was giving me the wigs. It's not my weekly wigs, but he was looking creepy as fuck with this nasty 90s stash that he had going on. And he's like got them Dahmer Coke bottle glasses on. And I told you or like you were saying, I got fashion watch for everybody. I'm ripping people's outfits to shreds this episode because you're not wrong. I have never commented this much on people's outfits, but this guy was looking creepy. I cannot stand when, especially older men, and probably from this generation of men too, they had that weird fucking brown stained glass eyewear. Like, don't you want to see through clear? Why has it got a yellowish tint to it?
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. It gives a cringe vibe.
What it needs to give us contacts from the mall. Like, he needs to go to the optometrist. As she watches, we see the young boy from before appear at the door, then walk off as we follow him down the hallway amongst passing students. He passes as two students come to the stairs, and one comments on how she's going to sneak downstairs to the basement access to catch some lung cancer. He shakes his head as she enters, commenting on how she shouldn't go down there. Once down there, the girl attempts to light up her Camel Crush cigarettes as something appears to be watching her. Which we realize quick is the disfigured, horrendous monster man-looking motherfucker. Clocking in about 6'3" with a bald head, scars all along his face, a foggy eye complete with an arm and hand that's molded into the shape of a bat for beating. He steps out from his hiding space, calling out, "Lucky 19. And the girl looks over to him, screaming as he runs at her, attacking her, swinging at her multiple times, beating her into the ground, to possible death as we pan to a sign on the wall displaying a gun with smoke exiting its chamber and the caption, "Smoking Kills." Not the Smoking Kills advertisement. The 90s sure did love them anti-smoking movements, especially in the form of DARE. They're like, save the kids. Don't smoke. It's bad for you. Let's hurry up and finish this episode so we can have a steak. The Camel Crush. We cut to Sunnydale Hospital as Buffy and Giles walk through the halls, talking about how they're there to see the girl whose name we learn is Laura that got attacked. Making it to her room where they found this girl badly beaten and bruised but conscious, hop right into asking her what the hell happened. Glad for visitors, she's now suffering from PTSD. She tells them what we already know, but struggles to describe the man that attacked her, but declares that it was an it versus a man. A nurse brings her some food in, saying that Laura needs her rest now. They've been there all of 1.5 minutes, I guess. And the nurse is like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking go. So Buffy and Giles decide to leave, but not before Buffy tells her that if she remembers anything, that she can let them know, even if it may seem weird. Almost out the door, Laura calls out Lucky 19. She just says it, though. She doesn't go, Lucky 19. They turn back and Giles questions, what did you remark? It's what he said right before. She says again,
He said Lucky 19. That's weird, right?
Looking to Buffy. She wishes her well, and then they exit. Buffy is literally the nicest person, and she appears so calm and collected and understanding. She handles Laura's trauma very well and makes her feel seen, respects her, and she even tells her that if something seems weird, it gives her the further connection and understanding, which relates to Laura, who has seen this man that defies logic, the safety and security that she can trust in Buffy, because Buffy's like, my whole life is weird. Like, I'm going to be on that level with you. I'm not going to be like, I don't think that that's what happened. I'm not going to gaslight you or make you think anything different. I'm going to be like right here for you. And I was like, Buffy always giving that fucking good girl energy. Buffy's the bomb. We then see them walking with a doctor in the halls as he is just, now mind you, for them having only stated that they are friends of hers, is just telling them literally all of her info on her injuries as if HIPAA law is not a factor for him, and he cares nothing about his medical license to practice or ethical code. However, he also isn't worried about mentioning another person's condition, being the first person to arrive with the same attack injuries as our friend Laura, and they are conveniently stopping just outside this patient's room as Buffy is questioning who this person is, and the doctor offers that he is that first victim and is still in a coma post-attack. They look in as the doctor comments on how they hope that he will wake up soon and how someone needs to stop the guy who's doing these heinous acts. Buffy stating aloud, somebody will. Of course, meaning her, our Slayer. This should be killing me, though, because Buffy's always making these little comments. They did it in I, Robot You, Jane whenever Dave said some kind of shit to her, and she walked out the room talking about, trust me, I do like her. You know what I mean? Like, it was off to herself. She always coming up with these things. Or they put it in the thing where they like, someone's got to stop this. And Buffy's like, it's going to be me. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
She loves a good one-liner.
For real. We cut back to the school as a few of the T-Birds from Greece are posted up by some lockers, talking smack. Their head macho guy, possibly named Danny Zuko, raving about how he ain't afraid to bust some dude's ass and such. Willow and Xander arrive a few lockers down in convo about how they are stunned over Wendell's dreams literally coming to life. Xander notating this as Fair Wiggins, and we get our wig watch because somebody mentioned Wiggins. But do they think it ties in with Laura? Willow isn't sure, but suggests maybe she dreamed about being beat up and saying that they'll discuss it with Buffy when she gets back. As she completes the statement, we hear an exuberant voice call out down the halls, "Ooh, there's my little baby. More sugar now, blah, 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 blah." I don't know. And a middle-aged woman comes running up to Danny Zuko, pinning him against the locker, giving her son the smoochies, asking how her little Pookie is doing. He grows embarrassed, saying, "Mom, not in front of my friends," exposing his tough guy act as, in fact, an act. Xander laughs at this interaction, and him and Willow walk into class just by their lockers. He's commenting on the possible connections to dreams becoming reality as the POV from the shot of Xander's eyes from behind Willow on the students sitting in the class before her. They all audibly gasp and start to laugh. He calls out what? Willow is confused and spins around to face Xander, who is standing there in his underwear, asking him, "Xander, what happened to your clothes?" He looks down, growing bashful, covering himself up.
Oh no, I was just a minute ago.
Nervous, embarrassing laughter taking hold of him. Horrified, he begins to freak out, stating aloud,
It's a dream. It's gotta be a dream.
And then he starts pinching himself, not waking up from said dream.
Ow, wake up. Ow, gotta wake up.
He yells and runs out of the class. Okay, but Xander got some tone and some nice arms, I will say, because he had no shirt on. Nikki Brendan is not too bad looking in this, like, earlier seasons. I thought it was funny, though, that they had to include some classic fear scenarios from Dreams, though, and it's funny that Xander got chosen for this scene and made to feel helpless and vulnerable, because that's always what he's trying to do for fucking, women. Yeah. We cut to the library as Buffy enters, arriving at a stressed Giles, who stands at the table hovering over countless newspapers. He declares that he's collected from the last week, trying to do research. Buffy asking if he's found anything, he only replies that he doesn't know. "You don't know if you didn't find anything?" she asks. He tells her that he's having a problem, that he cannot read. "Well, what do you mean? You can read like 3 languages, she replies. 5, actually, he begins, adding that on a normal day, anyways, that's what he can do, but the words aren't making sense. They appear as gibberish, tossing down a paper article, which Buffy then picks up, claiming that that's him. That's the kid that she's been seeing around the school, as we see an article on a boy named Billy Palmer, 12 years old, in a coma as the headline. Buffy reads out that he was found beaten after his kid baseball league game on Saturday and is in critical condition, doctors say. Probably the same doctor from the hospital giving the paper information that he's not supposed to. The fucking doctor calling the damn newspaper people to be like, "I got all the information. This is what you need to put in the fucking thing." Now that this info has been presented to her, the next dot to Buffy's favorite game, Connect the Dots, has landed her on the fact that this is the same boy that the doctor was talking about in the hospital. No shit, Buffy. Giles trying to catch up, Buffy informs that she saw him on the first day whenever the spiders got Wendell, then again when she bombed her history test, and that she just thought it was weird and didn't think about it again until right now. Giles doesn't understand how she's been seeing him.
The boy's been in a coma for a week. How could this be possible?
And she claims,
What, am I knowledge girl now? Explanations are your terrain.
Because Buffy is starting to connect those dots immaculately, he offers that perhaps it's astral projection.
The theory that while one sleeps, one has another body, an astral body, which can travel through time and space.
Buffy comments on how a coma is like sleep, right? Giles agrees in a manner of speaking, Buffy questioning,
Could I be seeing Billy's asteroid body?
Astral body, no.
He corrects her as she rolls her eyes at him, but he's not certain. As per usual, he doesn't have a lot of info to work with. Buffy gazing down at the pages at Billy and mutters, "Lucky 19. Taking notice to Billy's baseball league photo in the paper, the number 19 displayed largely on his uniform. But before the two can discuss any further, a man enters the library, hollering out, "There you are," with a big smile. Buffy spins around confused as to why her dad is there looking at her in the middle of the school day when he's supposed to get her after school, questioning if something's wrong. He claims that he needs to talk to her. She's worried of her mom, and he clarifies that she's fine, she's good, and she's got the positive vibes flowing, she's good. But he needs to speak with her privately. She says sure and introduces her father quickly to Giles as the high school librarian and her dad to him as Hank Summers. Afterward, Buffy smiles happy to go off with him, grabbing her jacket as they make their way out, telling Giles that she will be back. Outside walking around campus, Hank is seen telling Buffy that he came early because he had something that he needed to tell her about her mother and him and their split. Buffy declaring that they always told her, but he cuts her off, finishing, "I know we always told you that we had grown too far apart." She states, "Well, isn't that true?" He points to a nearby bench, saying that they should sit. He states that she's old enough to know the truth, her replying to ask if there was someone else. Because that has to be it, right? He declines that those are just suspicions and breaks the news that the real reason that they split was because of Buffy. Dumbfounded, she says, "Me?" He goes on to berate her with the facts.
You're sullen and rude, and you're not nearly as bright as I thought you were going to be. Hey, Buffy, let's be honest. Could you stand to live in the same house with a daughter like that?
Her eyes immediately fill with tears as she questions, "What?" He takes this opportunity to call her blind to what's in front of her, to no surprise in his opinion, since all she ever does is think about herself. He continues that she embarrasses them, gets in trouble, pulls crazy stunts. I mean, should he even go on? "No, please don't," she cries. He calls her sullen and rude, not nearly as bright as they'd hoped, roping Joyce into this. She asks why he is saying all these things. He tells her that they are true, and how it's immature that she is getting all blubbery over honesty. Which, speaking of honesty, he nails her coffin shut with the statement that he doesn't get anything out of these weekends with her, so they should just stop doing them, and that he sure thought she'd turn out differently. He pats her leg and hops up, walking off to leave her there in her misery for the moment. As soon as he disappears, she looks up to see Billy just behind him watching her. Too stunned to move, she just closes her eyes. Listen, even though this is a fake scenario, I was about ready to hop through the screen to beat this motherfucker in the face for making Buffy cry. Because this, though, exposing a fear of Buffy's really hits hard in a way for her. Of course, this is before they realize that their nightmares are starting to become reality. So she's like thinking that this is literally how life is just unfolding for her in her day. She's like, damn, this is the worst day I've had in a while. But she could have just shrugged it off, possibly, if so. But being beforehand, this is already a worry, and it makes a gruesome scene for her to have to deal with this. Back in the library, Xander and Willow enter as Xander is finishing putting on some of his gym clothes, calling out, "Red alert, where's Buffy?" Giles saying that she stepped out with her father, asking what happened to the clothes that he was wearing earlier. Xander wishes that he knew the answer to that question, and Willow informs Giles that he found himself in front of the class not wearing much of anything. "Except my underwear," he adds. Willow starts to smile, almost laughing, saying, yeah, it was really, when he looks to her, she closes on bad. It was bad and nothing else. Willow throwing shade, thinking that the shit was so funny, but also Heike really loved it, probably seeing Xander hardly without anything on. She was like, Xander. Everyone's staring, she says, confirming that she'd hate to have all those eyes on her like that. As we learned last episode in the puppet show how she deals with that. Willow begins to put two and two together that it was his nightmare, just like the spiders, and how Wendell dreamed as such. Giles speaks on how he'd recently dreamed that he got lost in the stacks, and that he couldn't read. He beats himself up, visually frustrated, exclaiming, "Of course!" They confirm their nightmares are coming true, and it's because of Billy. Then has to inform them of who he is, and links him being in the astral realm, bringing his nightmare world into reality.
Thanks a bunch, Billy.
Xander smarts off. Willow asks how, Giles saying, "Duh, bitch, hellmouth." They gotta stop it, Xander pleads. Giles agrees, because if not soon, everyone in the town will be facing their worst nightmare. Okay, but the trio over here is stealing Buffy's thunder by finishing this episode's game of Connect the Dots without her present. That's not cool. At least last episode, she was in the room when Xander made the smart connection with Giles, helping to put the pieces together and form the whole picture, before Mark cut his head off, or his scalp off. That's just rude. Out in the halls, Cordelia opens her locker and is stunned to see her reflection in the locker mirror. She has no makeup on, her hair is frizzy and untamed, and it's a hairdresser's worst nightmare. I would know. She gasps and grabs her comb, trying to comb out her hair, claiming that she doesn't understand how this could be happening. She was just at the salon as the comb snaps off in her hair. Cordelia over here looking like she got her hair done at Urban Nirvana salon. No, but for real.
Literally.
Why does this look literally me and you, Courtney, whenever we try to blow out our hair, especially in the summer before we flat iron it or put a wave in it?
What do you mean?
It's
My
like
hair
the hair air dried. Oh, shit. Outside, Buffy is pacing around sad looking when she takes notice to Billy entering the gym doors. She follows him in and finds him sitting on the bleachers. She calls out to him, asking if he's Billy Palmer. He confirms, and she asks why he's there, wondering if something bad happened to him after his game. He claims not to remember, but remembers playing baseball and what base he plays.
Are you lucky 19?
She asks, and he looks at her disturbed. Tears start to form, and he says,
That's what he calls me.
Buffy asks, who? And he tells her,
The ugly man. He wants to kill me. And he hurt that girl.
Buffy asks, why does he want to do that? Billy starts to freak out, screaming, he's behind you, bitch. Buffy turns around, and that ugly motherfucker is towering right behind her, and he raises an arm to smash Buffy across her head, sending her to the floor. She dodges his next attacks and delivers a foot to his face, then a second. Billy runs off as they continue to battle. Buffy leaves the situation running out the gym. She's like, I cannot fuck with this motherfucker. His eye is ugly, his face is ugly, his whole body is ugly. I gotta get out of here. In the same motion, the trio are leaving the library as Giles says that Buffy has no clue what's happening, and given the sort of things that she tends to dream about, it's imperative that they find her. Xander recommends covering more ground is faster by splitting up. Giles agrees, and they split off, leaving Willow behind, who states with fear, faster, but not safer. This moment right here, though, is small and goes by super quick, where we really may not even pay close attention because we're getting rushed into the heavier part of the episode and it's Nightmares Unleashing. But I wanted to point out that my eyes were open differently this time in Giles' statement when he mentions, given the type of things that Buffy dreams about. I wanted to elaborate on the fact that even though we never see it, we find out through him in this moment that he is aware, and Buffy has been telling Giles about the dreams that she has, and probably also her fears over the Master. Like, that never picked up to me contextually before, that maybe she's had these discussions with him. I thought it was a really cool thing that Giles wanted to ensure that they find Buffy and get to Billy to stop all of this before her dreams actually take form and do exactly as we see later Giles would be having to deal with in real form because, you know, Buffy did. And he doesn't want anything happening to his Slayer. And her confiding in him really speaks to their dynamic and how far they've come from like the beginning and how integral to our story this season it is, and for the future obviously as well for the two.
That's so true. I didn't even really pick up on that, so I'm glad you brought that up. I wonder how many times I would have had to watch this episode before I connected those dots myself. So
20 years worth of watching it, because I just picked it up this episode. I think I've heard it before, but I don't know. I think of things differently now when we're watching the episodes. So I'm like listening for different things, and I'm also typing it out too. So I'm having to sit with it for a minute, and then I'm like, So I had that whole moment. But I loved it, though, because Buffy is obviously talking to him and stuff and telling her about, like, what she's upset about versus, like, she won't talk to her mom. She's got this whole, like, life going on with Giles, and it's just beautiful to witness.
He's her counselor in a way.
Her watcher.
Her therapist.
Her watcher. A.K.A. her counselor therapist. Her watcherpist. I don't know. Either way, Buffy locks the ugly man in the gym as he beats on the door, and Billy is waiting outside for her, and she says that they have to go find her friend so they can help, as he appears too strong for her to fight. Billy claiming that when they hide, that's when he comes. Inside the school, Willow comes down the steps to hear Cordelia shrieking as we pan over to her being dragged by the school's geek squad. She is seen wearing clothes that she would deem unsatisfactory and troping the stereotypical Bible-selling geeky girl in a long skirt and saddle shoes, most likely with Velcro straps to match her horrible hair. They drag her into the classroom forcefully as she cries out,
No! What are you doing? No! You don't understand! I'm not going to the test team! I swear I'm not!
This shit reminded me of the part of Mean Girls whenever Regina tells Katie,
No. You cannot do that. That is social suicide. Damn, you were so lucky you have us to guide you.
I was like, Cordelia would have to agree with all of these bitches and Mean Girls. But this is probably my favorite scene in the whole episode as well, because Cordelia is traumatized as fuck right now. And I absolutely love it because she deserves this hardcore. But it's so damn funny that this is what a nightmare to her would be. Of everybody else's shit, this is her nightmare. Being a geek and not having her vanity. Very on point for our Cordy.
Yeah, that's what I said. I put in my notes that it was kind of eye-opening, but also on brand for her character, that her nightmare, quote unquote, is so surface level, and everybody's is seemingly like a deeper layer of trauma, actual trauma, and not like this
Except
bullshit.
Willow. Willow got the easiest one out of this, honestly. She just got a little... we're dealing with episode 2 in a row where Willow got stage fright. We'll get to it, though.
And Xander, I guess, because I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Willow's watching this, all smiles to herself, with Cordelia's apparent worst nightmare, as we hear a whispering voice call out Willow's name. Willow turns to see the door to the basement beside her as we hear Buffy's voice call out her name again from behind the door. Willow opens it, calling out down the stairs to Buffy questionably, and starts to walk down the steps. there is no reason why she need to be going down these steps. I'm just saying, like, this is every horror movie that we don't need this. She makes it down there, muttering to herself that she's not afraid. You'd think I would be, but I'm not. An arm reaches out and grabs her shoulder as she shrieks, and we cut to Xander looking around the school. He enters doors to a hall that look visually destroyed. Lights zapping and apparently Nazi symbols are deemed scary and painted all over the walls. Not to mention the creepy Dexter Morgan clear tarps hanging and strewn all about. Something on the floor catches his eye and he moves toward it, exclaiming a happy, "All right." He bends down to pick up a Baby Ruth chocolate bar, claiming someone's loss is his chocolatey goodness, opening and biting into it. Yum, fudge. Fun fact from me, though, because I got triggered by this when I saw the Baby Ruth. I used to love them. Baby Ruths were like my favorite thing. I'd always ask to get them as a treat from the gas station or like grocery store when I was a kid, when my parents would go. Every time I see a Baby Ruth now, I think of this one Christmas. I think it was 2003 or 2004 when my mom took a Baby Ruth and put toothpicks in it for arms and those little googly shaky eyes, and adorned the toothpicks that were for his arms, and put a little Christmas hat on him and had the little Santa gloves, like mittens, on his little toothpick hands. Basically, it was to make Mr. Hanky the Christmas poo from South Park. I don't know if you know what that looks like.
Yes.
But we loved South Park growing up. My parents let us watch that, and they really shouldn't have, because we were well below the age of 12 trying to watch this shit. But I loved South Park, so they made it for me. And she all put it in a box wrapped underneath the tree. It was just a whole thing. So now literally, even when I get a Halloween bag of candy and I have those little mini things of Baby Bruce, I'd be thinking about Mr. Hanky, the Christmas poo. So I can't even eat them because I'd be thinking about how they're a piece of shit. But I adored my mom's creativity with that shit too. So I thought it would be cute to
That's pretty
mention
cute.
a core memory for Baby Ruths. I didn't expect to see him in this episode. I forgot that it actually showed the chocolate. Either way, he spots another bar on the floor, and it's a Hershey's bar, and you can tell that they had to erase some of the letters on the logos to avoid a copyright law, because the H and the Y was missing from it or some shit. Possibly seeing another, he turns towards it as we cut back to Billy and Buffy trying to get to the library, Buffy confused that she was just taking them there but got turned around somehow. We see a fence where Billy watches two boys play baseball on the opposing side, asking Billy if he's bothered. He claims when you lose, it's bad. She prods, asking if he lost his game the week before, and he states yes, and that it was all his fault because he didn't catch a ball. Buffy reminds him that there are other players on the team, and the whole game was not his fault whenever they lost. Billy admits someone specifically, he, said that it was his fault. Buffy questions who, and did he hurt you after the game, placing a comfort hand on Billy's shoulder, who just shrugs it off and reminds her of the fact that they need to find her friends. Here go Buffy again with that consoling and good person energy. This girl is freaking amazing, because she tried to reach out to this little boy, and he's like, nah, I ain't ready to fuck with you yet about that. But I just like how she's so in tune to help people when they obviously have a problem. That is not her from the movie. It's not her leading up to the show, because we'll get into it next episode finally. But in her old life, used to give off Cordelia vibes. She was like a walking Cordelia. And now, obviously this whole Slayerhood has changed her whole perception and how she cares about people. So I find that very, very awesome.
I like that.
She senses his boundary and agrees. They start to continue forward when the ugly man is seen having just beaten another person the hell and back and headed toward them. She looks over to some tall shrubs and says to him that we can cut through here. When they do, they pass over it from midday and into a cemetery on the opposite side, and it's now night. Buffy confused as to what just happened. Billy asks if this is where her friends are, and she gives him a firm, nah, Billy, it sure the fuck ain't. We arrive now with Willow again, as a man is pulling her along backstage at an event. She is dressed in a geisha outfit, her hair in a bun secured with a chopstick. I don't get it. Willow's outfit in the scene, she's singing with an Italian man for one, and he's in a regular suit and tux outfit, and then now she's sitting over here in this fucking geisha outfit. I guess they just wanted her to stand out or some shit, but they put that ugly-ass white powder fucking face on her and that bright-ass lip. The lip was giving Winifred Sanderson from Hocus Pocus. It's just dipped right on the middle. I don't know.
She was giving Mulan.
Literally giving Mulan. I was just like, 2024 lens would call this appropriating someone else's culture, but we'll go with it, I guess. I don't know. It's a cool fit, but it was just very out there for her. I was like, they just have to make this make sense because they want her to look extra, and they're like, we can't put her out there in just some ball gown or some shit like normal people. Like, make her look like an opera.
Here goes Brandon's outfit watching.
I can't help it. It's just like a whole thing. It triggered me. I was like, why is Willow wearing this? And it's not a cute color. If anybody else likes it, let me know. If anybody else doesn't like it, don't let me know. Let Courtney know. Message her on lifeinretrograde.com.
Yes, let's do it.
That man is telling her that he thought that she wasn't going to show. He checks her fit, telling her that her partner is beside himself, as we hear an announcer stating on loudspeaker, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are so proud to present the world's greatest singers." The man pushes Willow along, exclaiming that he hopes that she's warmed up. There's an ugly crowd out there, and a lot of reviewers have showed up. The loudspeaker announces a famous man from Italy named Aldo, and then Willow as the greatest soprano singer. Willow peeks from behind the curtains to see the man out there waiting for her, and she says aloud that she didn't learn the words as the guy leading her pushes her out onto the stage. Music begins to play, and the male singer Aldo sings loud and proud in Italian. He motions for Willow to sing her part as she just stares at him, and then at the crowd and then back to him. He continues singing again, arriving again at Willow's cue to sing, and she quietly frozen asks him, "My turn?" Mm-hmm. He states back, "Yeah, bitch, it's your fucking turn." And she opens her mouth and a squeal comes out. He's so done with the scene, and thank God we are too, because Willow just talking about. So I was like, no, Willow. I was like, well, at least like channel out some "I'm a Slave for You" by Britney Spears. Or something like, what was the TLC Waterfalls or something around this year? Like, don't go chasing them, Willow. Back with Xander, this motherfucker got like 8 candy bars in his hand. Commenting on his love for them, passing through some of Dexter's plastic curtains, he stops amazed. On the floor before him lies the mother of goodness to him, the best of the best in his opinion, a chocolate hurricane. We start to hear some goofy cackling, the laughter growing louder as he's saying to himself,
I haven't had one of these since my
He pauses and his eyes grow wide.
6th birthday.
He turns around to see a shadow approaching the curtains. The laughter at its heaviest, a clown passes through, and Xander screams in terror as the clown raises a knife and swings it at him, causing him to fall back into a flip and run off. Xander suddenly over the candy bars now. I am skeezed every single time I watch this episode, and he goes to scream, and he's like just munching on the chocolate bars. He's got all that fucking chocolate in his mouth. I was just like, ugh. I was like, spit that shit out and then act. Like as an actor, you know, you have to do that take over and over again as well, probably at least a few times to get the shot right. And like, you just got to keep that chocolate mush in your face. Like, I love chocolate, but like, I ain't even about to rub no Nutella off in my mouth and just smack on it like that.
Do it.
All right, great.
Next time I come over, or actually when you're here next, I'm going to just roll up right into your Airbnb with Nutella spread all over my gums. I'm like, hey, Brandon.
Oh my God. Oh, please don't. She said I got the, what is it, the Bruno bar or the Bueno bar or whatever the fuck, the chocolate hazelnut bars.
Yeah.
The Bruno Mars bar. In the cemetery, Buffy is still confused at her surroundings. Her and Billy look around and she comments on where the sun could have went so quickly. Billy takes notice to a freshly dug grave in the ground with an empty open coffin in the ground. He tells Buffy that he guesses they're going to bury somebody and he wonders who died. In this moment, the Master steps into frame a few yards away from behind a large gravestone, commenting to them, "Nobody died." Buffy looks at him in horror, saying, "You."
So, this is the Slayer. You're prettier than the last one,
he says, with his arms folded, walking toward her. Her replying, "This isn't real. You can't be free." Him telling her,
"You still don't understand, do you? I am free because you fear it. Because you fear it, the world is crumbling. Your nightmares are made flesh. You have little Billy to thank for that."
She is persistent on the fact that this is just a dream. He grabs her by the throat, telling her that a dream is a wish that your heart makes. A quote from the Disney movie and classic Cinderella. But how in the hell the Master know what this is? This movie came out in 1950, and this motherfucker been imprisoned in this damn cathedral since like 1937, bro. He must be down there in the dwellings in his spare time when he's not poking out eyeballs or giving long speeches with Colin watching Disney movies. Since the Master is up there in the beginning of the episode schooling him on vampirism, evil, and death, Colin's reciprocating by making him watch old Disney movies. So they watched Cinderella recently, and it's just really on his mind. Next, they're going to watch Hercules.
I thought you were about to say next they're going to watch Hereditary.
Oh, yes. No, that's the Master's favorite movie.
Obviously.
The master would have loved it. The master spins her around so her back is at the grave. Come on, Slayer. What are you afraid of? He hisses at her, tossing her back as she falls into the casket. She lands and the door snaps closed. She begins to pound on it, begging for help. The master begins to bury her alive, laughing maniacally. Why is Buffy so scared of the master? She's beating every other vampire and threat in this show and showing her badassery and fearlessness any other time. But what is it about him that terrifies her to where she's just not going to beat his ass on sight? Because if I was Buffy, I'd be like, all right, where's the master? I'm putting out hands as soon as I see him. I just don't get it. She's like terrified of him. Obviously plays out later, but we get why, and we'll see why in the finale. We'll be there soon. In the school, Willow backs out of the door as people toss tomatoes at her, booing her in unison. She bumps into Xander, who is out of breath, asking if she found Buffy, her remarking upset that she had to sing, very badly, still in panic. He pulls her rushing along to go find the others, her asking what happened to him. He states, remember my 6th birthday party? She stops with him and chuckles and laughs, remembering the event.
Oh, yeah, when the clown chased you and you got so scared that you had... Oh...
Realizing the situation. I like this moment because we get a further sense of Willow and Xander's history too. They have known each other since they were literal small children and grown up together, at least as early as back when they were 5, because I know she mentioned in the first episode that he stole her Barbie back then. But it's fun to know and laugh along with Willow as she recalls this event being funny to her, because there was no real danger element, because like most kids are scared of clowns.
Oh yeah.
But I thought it was funny how quick she switches to remember the fear that Xander experienced and like what the situation that they're in is. And she's like, oh, fuck, you were terrified of that clown. So what does this mean for us? That shit was funny. I like that dynamic whenever we have these little episodes where they like talk about Willow and Xander having known each other literally since childhood. Nobody else knows each other. Everybody else is pretty much fresh, but they've also known Cordelia since they were kids too. So it's like a whole thing. As we hear the clown's laughter begin again, he cuts through some of Dexter's plastic with his knife. Willow screams out as they turn to run off, but crash into Giles, who sees the clown and yells out, running off with them. Xander has had enough, though, and walks to the clown, swiftly approaching him. He raises the knife back, and Xander punches him square in the face, knocking him back and out, yelling that the clown sucked at his party and how he couldn't even make balloon animals. Good for you, Xander. Him and Billy are the only ones to actually face their fears this episode and overcome them. Just had to point that out. They arrive outside the school front as he says he feels liberated. Giles commenting as people flee by them. You seem to be the only one, and how they've only got a few hours until reality folds completely into the nightmare realm. Willow asks what do they do, and he tells them that they need to wake Billy. Xander saying that they still need to get Buffy. Giles replying that they have no clue where she's gone. Willow stares off in front of them and remarks, when exactly did they put a cemetery in across the street? Us seeing a black hole portal that leads into the night and said cemetery. They lead off into it, looking around. Xander asks them, whose nightmare is this? Giles stops, looking next to him at a freshly set grave, a headstone reading Buffy Summers, rest in peace, and saying to Xander that it's his nightmare. Sorry that they ain't got Buffy's birthday on here, Courtney. I just wanted to point that out for you. I was like, I looked because I was like, is her birthday on here? And it's not. It just literally says her death, like the year. At least they got Buffy's birth year correct. The set and prop creators can keep their jobs this week, unlike the ones who need to be fired from iRobot Eugene. Kneeling down at it, he remarks on failing in his duty to protect her, continuing,
I should have been more cautious. Taken more time to train you. But you were so gifted. And the evil was so great.
offering an I'm sorry as he places a hand on the dirt in sorrow. Willow and Xander look on sad. He goes to stand up when Buffy's hand grabs his, and they all scream, backing away as she rises out of the grave. She stands up with the head, looking down, dusting off her clothes. Giles calls out her name as she looks up at him. Her face is morphed into a vampire, tears still in her eyes, and she states, I thought I was dead. This shit is cool as fuck. We get to see Buffy as a vampire here, and minor spoiler alert, this is the only time that we ever get to see her this way, obviously, because we know she will get turned into a vampire. I can't, whatever, but they did it this one time. I think that this makes total sense for her because this would be a fear of hers. A vampire slayer fights vampires on a regular basis, and one slip up and that vampire is going to drink. I mean, obviously, most slayers in the past have probably been killed by a vampire, and I wonder if any of them have ever been turned into one because obviously, canonically, there's not one out there. But this would most likely be every Slayer's fear, also along with like the fact of a young death. But this makes their death even more worrisome as an after effect, because becoming the thing that you've been chosen to fight probably is a slap in the face. Imagine that power, though. A Slayer turned into a vampire, that would probably be a fairly undefeatable foe. You get the double strength of the Slayer power and the vampire fight.
For sure. I also thought about it in the way of like, because she is in love with Angel and Angel's a vampire. I wonder if she has this like dooming sense about her feelings toward him, because maybe inevitably she feels like that's what she would have to become, you know? I don't know. It had my head spinning in a lot of ways. I was like, oh shit. And then I was like, wait, do we see her as a vampire again? Does she turn into a vampire? Is this Twilight? Like, I don't know.
I literally, when you were just saying that statement, I was like, so she's trying to act like Bella so that way she can be with Angel. No, but for real, did you trip out whenever she lifted her head up and she was a vampire, though?
Yes. That was another reason why this episode just kept throwing me off, because I could not keep up with what was reality and what wasn't, especially when that happened. I was like, wait. Is she really a vampire right now? Is everyone really seeing her like this? Or is this just like somewhere off in some sort of astral world happening?
Well, asteroid world.
Asteroid.
It's astral, Courtney. Buffy, your face, Willow cries out in shock as Buffy feels her face crying, oh God, as Xander takes a step toward her, saying her name. She quickly turns her back to them, saying not to look at her. Giles walks before her, telling her that she never told him that she dreamt of becoming a vampire. She replies this isn't a dream. No, because it's a fucking nightmare. He agrees, telling her about his plan to wake Billy and reset the balance. He says that she needs to hold it together just to be able to help them. She says that she can, and that they need to hurry because she's getting hungry. Looking to Willow and Xander walking off for them to follow. Xander nervously commenting on that better be a joke. Well, we hope not for you, because she's going to eat you before the other two, probably. Willow asks Giles, following along, if he really thinks that everything will go back once Billy is awake. He's positive. Willow questions him again, being pessimistic, and he simply states as nice as he can, Willow, do shut up. I was like, he would probably just look at Xander and be like, shut the fuck up. But he gonna look at Willow and be like, Willow, please. And offer her some tea and crackers. Some Bovril. They arrive at the hospital at Billy's bedside, and Giles begins to scream Billy's name at his body. Billy's astral form appears before them, saying that won't work. Giles says they need him to wake up, him replying that he can't. He told them that he needs to hide. From who? Giles asks. As we hear a loud grr in the hallway, Buffy at the doorframe sees the ugly man at the end of it and says, from him. Xander asks, what do we do? Buffy saying she knows, takes off her jacket and walks out the room to face the ugly man. She steps to him.
You see, I'm having a really bad day.
He mutters out,
Lucky 19.
Hobbling over to her. She calls out to him.
Scary. I'll tell you something, though. There are a lot scarier things than you.
Overhead light shines onto her face so we can see her vampirism, stating,
and I'm one of them.
She growls and charges, and they fight. Exchanging kicks and blows, he knocks her into the room, attacking her as he starts to hit her with his bat arm. She grabs it and snaps it over her knee, slamming him back into the wall, knocking some life out of him. See, undefeatable. That vampire energy kicked her up a notch, and she whooped that ugly man's ass real damn quick. In this fight versus the one in the gym earlier, she was running out the fucking gym. She was like, I can't take him. I can't take him. Now she ever had bop, 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 and then he down. Billy asks if he's dead. Buffy tells him to come over to her. He shakes his head no at her. You have to do the rest, she states. He comes around the back side of the bed to her, grabbing her outreached hand. No more hiding, she says. Guiding his hand to the ugly man, he reaches to his face and starts to pull off the metaphorical mask that he wears. Light pouring from his face and releasing the fake world back into reality, making everything normal again. Everyone looks around. Buffy feels her face that's now human again. Willow's clothes have returned, and Xander's original ugly fucking disgusting outfit. Billy's eyes flutter, and he wakes up from his coma. He tells them that he had the strangest dream, saying all of them in the room were in it, asking who are they. Giles starts to walk off to get the doctor, when a man who introduces himself as the baseball coach is surprised that Billy has company. Stating he comes there every day hoping that he wakes up soon. Yeah, I'll fucking bet. You're trying to watch his ass to see if he's going to be saying something. Talking about he's his lucky 19. Asking, how is he? Buffy steps from in front of Billy, saying that he's awake. Buffy, snarking him, presents the facts that she knows about him, blaming him for losing the game, and she's aware of what he did afterward. He plays dumb, but Billy sits up confessing and calling him out for what he did. He starts to turn and flee from the room. Xander grabs him and Giles blocks the door. Billy snarks there are 8 other players on the team. He knows it wasn't his fault. Buffy and him share a smile, and she tells him nice going, recalling what she had said to him. After a crazy day, the gang have returned and finished their school day. Exiting the school for the day, a car honks, and Buffy's dad exits waving at her happily. Buffy walks off telling her friends to have a killer day. Then Hank gives her a big hug, saying that he's so thrilled to see her, and then she leaves with him. Willow asking Xander if, when Buffy was a vampire, was he still attracted to her? He fails at the denial, and she calls him out for still digging her. He calls himself sick, and she says that she is aware, and so are the viewers, aka us, because we all watched the pack. They walk off, and the scene fades to black. And officially, thank God, at the end of this long fucking day, and here endeth the episode. Anyways, of course, we got to find out at the end that Xander was still into Buffy in this fucking thing. Like, they had to bring this shit up. I was like, blah. You'd think he'd be cycling on a close with his feelings, knowing damn well that she's in love with someone else, too, but they just got to remind us officially. I think it exposes a lot, though, of Buffy's trauma across the episode before Sunnydale, and now in the mix of her really formidable time and acceptance that she's starting to take in her Slayer role. As I said, Buffy displays so much thoughtfulness for her peers and those being harmed, which a good Slayer should be demonstrating, obviously, and she takes on challenges no matter what. These are just little things that I picked up across the episode that I wanted to commentate on. Not to mention, she combated the ugly man in her awesome vampire form. It's dope we got to see her in this way as well. But I'm curious if given more time with it, would she have still been as afraid of the Master and less fearless than she was in the graveyard scene when he first confronts her? Because there she is terrified of him and seems to be in a weakened, stunned state over him. But she conquers some fears after the world is turned upside down, and she rises from the grave to shine in the end of our episode and take that step back into her power along with the boost that she got from the vampirism. So I was like, if the Master wanted to pop up right now, would she just boop boop bop his ass and then he'd be slayed for good? Probably. Or would like Billy had to take the mask off and the Master would have been gone? I don't know. She should have channeled all that fuel that she had for the ugly man on the Master. Basically, all we're trying to say. We also get to officially meet Buffy's dad in this episode, even though like he was a jack shit piece of turd the whole fucking episode, except for the end. Joyce was trying to keep his positive vibes flowing and all that good stuff. But I thought it was cool that they actually brought him around as a canon person versus like a missing figure across the series. We actually have a physical face to relate to Hank Summers instead of just being mentioned. I do wonder, since the world seemed to pick right back up after it was left off, though, with the gang remembering the events while everyone else seemed to go back to normal, does that mean that nobody else will remember the events of the day? Like, is Cordelia just forgetting all that trauma she endured for that day? Everybody else going to have, I think Cordelia called it at the end of the harvest, she was like selective memory. Everybody's like chalking it up to like weird explanations and just stupid stuff so they can like out of sight, out of mind it, which is the next episode's title. Just a little clear there. But I don't know, it's just weird that they like had that premise. I was like, what the fuck is going on to where nobody remembers this stuff going on, but yet Buffy, Willow, Xander, and Giles all walk away from this day remembering this whole event happening. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah, like, is it because they're in the thick of it, or because they're the ones that help stop it? It just doesn't make any sense to me, and it never really has.
Is it because they know Buffy? Like, I don't know.
Something. I don't fucking know. I also wonder why we didn't happen to see Angel or Jenny again in this episode, too, because it's been since episode 7. Yeah. He's just, like, full-on missing the last few episodes. So I'm noticing now in season 1 that he didn't get as much screen time as I once remembered, because when I was younger, I swear I used to think that he was, like, a plethora of, like, screen time in the first season, and he's really not.
He's like, been in every episode.
In 4 episodes total, essentially, because he wasn't in episode 8, 9, and now not this one. But that'll change more in season 2 for sure. Minor spoiler alert, because we're a spoiler-free podcast, and I keep dropping little minors in there. Do you have any little closing things for the episode or any stuff that you wanted to read out from your notes?
I've noticed this ongoing theme in almost every episode where there's just this either really classic case dark area or a dark space that doesn't make sense, like a dark basement, a dark locker room, a dark shower that's running, like any given thing. And I'm just like, first and foremost, why are there so many creepy spaces in this school? And secondly, why do people continue to opt to go into them? Especially this bitch trying to smoke a cigarette. I'm like, are you kidding me right now? You want a cigarette that bad that it's going to outweigh the fact that you should not, and just opening that door and peering down the steps, that is a place no soul wants to go. I have never wanted anything bad enough to go into a fucking place
Not
like
even
that
a Camel Crash?
willingly.
Listen, that's why I said that about Willow when she opened that damn same door, and I was like, "Don't go down there." Like, who's gonna do that? We watch horror movies all the time. We know not to do all that.
But that's also, like, I guess the cliche part about it is the fact that there's those parts in horror movies too, especially in the 90s, where you're just like, really, now why in the fuck are you gonna go walking down in this dark ass, skinny ass, crackhead looking alley at 1:11 a.m. by yourself, half nude, just left the club, and you're not asking
Just
for
left
it.
the club. Oh my god! Did you enjoy the episode overall?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely did. It kept my curiosity going the whole time, where I couldn't figure shit out until the very fucking end, which I appreciate. I like not being able to figure it out right away.
Whose nightmare that became reality? Whose did you think was like the worst?
Buffy's, for sure.
For her, just to like live through it.
I mean, in general, she had so many layers to her, like, nightmare, you know? There was this real relative layer where it's like the daddy issues are coming up or whatever. And then also, I meant to ask you earlier, is this the first time we actually know that her parents are separated? Is that the first context, like, we have about her parents as, like, a unit? Because obviously we know her mom she lives with, and it's the two of them, but I don't remember any mention before this episode, like, in true detail about her dad.
So, as a Buffy fan, I should be able to tell you, yes, canonically in episode 2, they stated at 12 minutes and 14 seconds into the episode. I do not remember when, but it is set up that she's a single mom now and that her parents are separated and stuff. It comes up within the first couple of episodes in some way, shape, or form. I can't remember how. It's definitely really relevant whenever Joyce is like opening those boxes in Witch and stuff, somewhere along that span of like that episode. Oh no, Buffy does mention it. Whenever her and Amy talk in Witch, they're standing at the trophy case and she's like telling her mom, she's like, my dad was a piece of shit. My mom, like, blah, 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 blah. Obviously, it's Catherine talking in her body. But then Buffy's like, oh yeah, my parents split too whenever like such and such. Like, that was actually when it happened.
Yes.
Her and Amy had to talk about it, which, by the way,
it was just like a fleeting moment, though. It wasn't like this elaborative, like, part of an episode or anything, which is probably why I was like, wait, I don't remember knowing anything about her dad. But anyway, yeah, Buffy's is the worst, I think, because of all the layers, the daddy thing, the master, she's turning into a vampire. Like, bitch, calm down. Like, I don't want to have your nightmares ever.
Legit.
Not one
I
of
said
them.
in the beginning that Buffy had the worst dad of them all because all of her shit was like the worst of the worst, and Giles didn't get to stop out of that. But either way, I do have a little bit of metaphor for us. And this, it's not much of nothing, and I've already stated some of it, but the moments of abandonment and trauma and other psychological metaphors that we have in the episode as a subtext, or rather just text before us essentially at this point. But I did notice that both Buffy and Billy have kind of the same issue going on this episode. So like Billy was like a representation of Buffy and a metaphor for her and what her challenges were. In thinking on their own individual story, having thought that they are both at fault for what has happened. Like Buffy was blaming herself for her dad and her mom splitting and stuff like that, and then Billy was getting blamed literally by the other dude for fucking the whole event that happened with his like baseball game, knowing damn well, I guess that's just his like star student like vibe or star player. So he like took it out on Billy because maybe Billy was the like just the one that happened to throw that ball. If it had been little Andy, like Andy probably would have got his ass beat, or little fucking Colin, because everybody on the show was named Colin, like fucking base number 7, like he would have got it.
Or Thomas, and it was Thomas's dad.
Exactly. literally, this guy was giving Thomas's dad 100%. But no.
He wasn't being properly acknowledged while he was speaking.
That's exactly what happened. He's like, I need you to look at me while I scold you about this game we lost, you motherfucker. And then he didn't. And then he beat him. And then he put him in a coma. And then we had this episode. This episode, actually, his name was not Billy. It was Thomas. Once again, giving no context whatsoever to who the fuck Thomas and his dad are. But we'll tell you guys in the season 1 wrap up who the story about that is, because we'll have more time. But like I was saying, Buffy apparently feels that she may have been the cause for her parents' separation, and then that becomes reality and her nightmare is brought to life. And the same thing happens to Billy when he's told, like, the coach made it his fault. I already said that, but I'm just like regurgitating it so I can get back into my notes. Last episode, Buffy learned from Sid the importance of taking responsibility in the way that she couldn't take the ugly man's mask off. That Billy had to be the one to do it. So she kind of transferred that energy because Sid told her at the end of the last episode, like, I need to do this, like, when she offered to help. And this time she couldn't do it for Billy. So she's like, no, I actually learned last episode to, like, let other people step in, or I need to take responsibility for myself. So you need to take responsibility for this Billy, and you need to remove his mask so that way you can, like, work through your trauma, essentially, because it's a metaphor. And I'm just coming to this realization as I say it, is like, you need to be able to do the work yourself. Nobody can do the work for you. So
Yeah,
I
for
thought
sure.
that was pointed out pretty, like, hardcore. And then I thought it was a nice element and additive to bring back the last episode, the growth, like I was just saying, on Buffy's part and how she can instill that wisdom and push it onto another. But that's what I had for a metaphor section and all that good stuff. Really not so much metaphor as, like, I guess it was, like, the last part, like the beginning, obviously, but I guess it is. I'm going to clip everything I'm saying right now the last minute, but it's whatever. Some fun facts I got for the episode, which might not be that fun, but Nerf Herder, who is the people that did the Buffy theme song, there's a poster in Willow's locker that I noticed for the first time in the background of it, so I put it in here for that. Willow is dressed as that Chow Chow San from the 1904 opera Madame Butterfly that I talked about earlier. Just to bring that back full circle, I'll probably clip it because I can't stand that fucking outfit. I won't, though. It's still going to stay in here. Billy's statement about having the strangest dream and saying that they were in it is a reference to Dorothy when she awakens in the 1939 film The Wizard of Oz. She makes the same statement, like, dream in her non-dream state, because obviously it was all a dream in that movie. Which everybody is tripping out about the fucking Wicked and Ariana Grande, whatever the other bitch's name is. I'm just keep seeing it all over my feed, and I'm just like, I don't even like Ariana Grande like that. But I might watch the movie at some point when it's on streaming, 17 years from now, when I'm really bored and, like, feel like I want to die.
When it's free.
But no, I thought it was funny that, like, they were talking about the Wizard of Oz in that movie all coming out. I was like, oh hell, it's triggering me right now. The establishing shot on the school is also the same establishing shot from Teacher's Pet and the same opening shot from something else. I had it written. I thought I did anyways. Oh, it's just the fact that Willow's out there. Hold on. That establishing shot of the school is from Teacher's Pet, and we can see Willow in the outfit sitting on the bench right outside that she was wearing in that episode, The Pack. So, like, they just regurgitated, like, that little opening sequence to, like, say we're going to use this for 7 episodes and maybe people won't notice. But somebody did notice, and they wrote it in a book and published it. So now everybody in the world can check out this error that they thought they was getting slick with. Most people would never notice because, obviously, I did want to point out that I noticed for the first time that there's a Funko Pop as Buffy from the Vampire, and in the outfit that she was wearing this episode with, like, the baby blue and the white and the ugly shit on her shirt. I don't think it comes with the jacket. I think it's just her. But also there's, like, a Giles that comes in the little box with her, and I was like, oh, it's so fucking cute. I had to look up a picture of it. And Sarah Michelle Gellar is somewhat claustrophobic, and she hated being buried alive in that scene. And apparently Joss told her that she would never have to do it again.
Oh gosh,
like,
I'm surprised she really had to do it. I'd be like, you about to just, like, barely put some dirt over my face and let me emerge real quick and go into the scene full force. Like, I'm not
for both of them,
buried.
because they closed the coffin up on her. Obviously they tossed a few, like, stuff, but they obviously didn't 6-foot barrier. But obviously they had to put her underneath the ground for her to, like, rise up out of it, which I don't know if that was her or if that was a stunt double, but obviously it probably could have been her if she wanted to do it. I don't know. But those are the little tiny pinch of fun facts that I found for this episode. So now we can get into our final slays.
Final slays.
I was like, is she gonna do it? I don't know. All right, I'm going to go with my Shining Slayer. I'm going to give it to Billy for this one because he faced his fear and he was unmasking his attacker in the end, both in dream reality and actual reality, because as soon as he came out of that dream from facing his fears, he looked at that motherfucker squared up at him and he was like, you know what the fuck you did? I'm going to call you out right now in front of all these bitches. Like, straight to jail with this jackass little league coach.
True that. Mine was Billy, but then when I gave it some extra thought, I changed it to Buffy because I just feel like she had to endure the absolute most the entire day. And as we've said 27 times, this was the longest fucking day in the history of probably the Buffyverse. So I don't know.
That's going to be a clip in the Instagram post that I make. I love that though. Like, you always try not to choose Buffy, and then you were like wrapping back around. You're like, nah, I gotta choose Buffy. She wins it
was
on
unavoidable.
a technicality. She said it was.
She deserves it.
Quote for the episode. Are you ready for this? I chose Xander.
Oh God, wait.
But only because this quote is legit. He goes in the beginning, I'm not worried. We'll find, you'll slay, and we'll party. I like this because he has all the faith in Buffy, in their gang, and the fact that they've done this so routinely consecutive times now. As he said, he's not worried, you know, till he's in the situation, because then it's like, oh, fuck, like I'm about to get stabbed by a clown. Like, I got to react to this. But otherwise, his mindset on this is beautiful. He is just like, Buffy's going to save the fucking day. If not, we'll help do the research and we'll come to the end of this and we're all going to be victorious afterwards. That's a fucking awesome ass mindset to have. And I'm surprised it became a part of Xander Lavelle's fucking literal brain. Like,
well, that doesn't shock me too much because I have two quotes. One of mine is also Xander, surprisingly. But mine was when he's talking to Giles, and Giles, when they're trying to figure out what's going on. And I can't remember exactly the question that Xander asked Giles, but Giles's response was simply Billy. And Xander goes, well, that explanation was shorter than usual. I love that. And then my other one was when Buffy was like full vamp face and she was like, well, we better hurry because I'm getting hungry.
She's about to eat Xander. Love it. Weekly wigs. What gave you the weekly wigs?
Two things. One being a really obvious, which is the fucking clown. Like, I can't.
I can't even laugh like I'm.
I can't. Oh, God. But also, what the fuck? Xander would be the first kid kidnapped in the neighborhood so quickly. You just leave this boy chocolate out? I can't. Like, the whole chocolate scenario, from him being so obsessed with it, so distracted by it, and instantly getting hypnotized by it as if he's never seen chocolate and as if he's not, like, in high school and can't go buy the fucking chocolate himself any fucking time. But anyways, so from that to him just having the chocolate smeared all over his face, I can't.
Not even just all over his face. It was just all in his teeth and
like
mouth.
in his mouth. Yeah, the weekly wigs.
If you don't come into my fucking Airbnb with Nutella spread in your shit, I'm fucking asking you to leave.
I can't now because I know you're already going to be there with your phone recording, waiting for it.
Basically. Post it on the Instagram for everybody that doesn't care. I had a hard time initially choosing one because nothing really was standing out for me as a Wiggins, like, per se. There were probably moments, like, I guess now I can kind of say, like, I did right, it wasn't my Wiggins, but the Coke bottle, weird fucking mustache teacher that Buffy had in her 30-second history class.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yes, Daddy Dahmer. Not so Daddy Dahmer. The master mastering his mastery of mastering. That's my favorite quote from my episode. we'll re-announce that in season 1 wrap up, but no, I mentioned him and then I mentioned Xander's teeth. Like, I came to that conclusion while we were like talking about it throughout this, that I did not really, I had to like heavy disdain for it. It's just not my vibe. And
no,
I had those two that I could have chose, but I was like, nah. I was like, the fact that this damn coach beat up this little kid, I gotta choose the damn like assault that happened in this episode as my weekly wigs, because he couldn't handle the game being lost and taking out his frustration, so he decided to like take them out on a little like innocent child. That was not cool, and Billy did not deserve this, nor does any kid in general, but that was what gave me the weekly wiggins. Adults abuse of power and laying hands on a kid that surely could not defend themselves. Like, that was it for me. It was like straight to jail.
Also, control your fucking temper. They're kids. Like, what is it if they lose a damn game? This isn't the NFL.
You know that shit's happened
Chill
before.
out. Or the NBA. Like, chill out.
NBA, chill out. No, but for real, like, kids probably, I mean, especially parents being frustrated, have probably beat like my parents. Like my dad, literally my dad would get so frustrated with be smarting back, or like not even really smarting back, just like telling him things that were truth. And he was like, you need to quit talking back. And I'm like, bruh, at least I ain't like Thomas and not talking at all. Like, what the fuck? Nah, but like throwing abusive hands is not chill. It's not the vibe.
No.
Well, yeah, that's a wrap on Nightmares. I am going to say that I'm actually pretty sad we didn't get any references to Nightmare on Elm Street in this episode, because a Nightmare on Elm Street reference would have been perfect for this. Like anything, just throw them out, probably by Xander of all people to say something about like, where's Johnny Depp, or, you know, something dumb. Like, I don't know. Our favorite king of the dream world was not mentioned, though, unfortunately, amongst the chaos. But I guess the gang had their own shit that they had to deal with in this one. So that being said, thank you guys so much for listening. Let us know your thoughts on Nightmares. I'm curious to know what would have appeared for you guys in your nightmares manifested into reality. Also, who would you guys award Shining Slayer to, and what gave you guys the weekly wakes? We'll get you guys back here next week as we venture into our official Cordelia-centric episode. We get the lovely invisible life in episode 11, Out of Mind, Out of Sight. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Buffy on Revamped. Remember to join us next week for a new episode release as we continue our journey through Sunnydale. We also would like to hear from you, so share your thoughts. Discuss with us your perspectives on this or previous week's episodes by following us on Instagram and sending us a DM at revamped_rewatch podcast.
Or by emailing us at revampedrewatchpod@gmail.com. Additionally, we will be choosing one of your messages to shout out in an upcoming episode release. And don't forget, if you're looking for a friend and some unsolicited advice for the times when life feels out of orbit, go follow Life in Retrograde podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.
Until next time, the Earth is definitely doomed.
This podcast is dedicated to the Buffyverse, to its fans, and my sister, Tiffany Dawn Pearson.